Every family has that one person they treat like a permanent disappointment, and in mine, that role was assigned to me before I even learned how to argue back. It usually started at dinner, because that's when my parents felt the most powerful. The table was always perfectly arranged, as if neat cutlery could compensate for emotional chaos. My older sister sat on the right side like a trophy someone polished too often. I sat on the left, usually slightly late, usually already wrong in some invisible way. That night was no different. My sister was glowing again, new job promotion, new photos online, new praise from relatives who acted like she had personally solved world hunger. My mother kept smiling at her like she was the final version of human evolution. My father nodded like every word she said was a financial prophecy. And then there was me. I had barely sat down when the first comment dropped, casual as a spoon hitting a plate. "She really is half the woman your sister is," my mother said, not even trying to lower her voice. My father chuckled like it was a harmless truth everyone had already agreed on. "Some people just peak early. Others don't peak at all." My sister didn't even need to speak. She just tilted her head slightly, the way people do when they feel sympathy for something beneath them. I smiled anyway. That was my specialty. Smiling like I wasn't mentally rearranging the table in my head. If they thought I was weak, I let them. It made everything easier. Because the truth was, I had stopped trying to convince them a long time ago. Instead, I started observing. Observing how my father checked his phone every 5 minutes pretending it was work. Observing how my mother repeated the same stories about success like a broken motivational video. Observing how my sister needed validation like oxygen, but called it standards. And somewhere between all that observation, I started doing something stupid. I started experimenting. Not in the way they imagined. Not partying, not wasting time, not falling behind in life, like they kept warning me. I was actually sitting in my room at night, scrolling through TikTok videos of people screaming about money, charts, coins with dog faces, and something called meme economy. At first I laughed. Then I got curious. Then I did something worse. I invested. Not much. Just small amounts I could afford to lose. I told myself it was a joke. A stress experiment. A way to prove how ridiculous the internet had become. But the internet, apparently, had other plans. Somewhere between a random crypto dip and a late-night video about alien signal trading patterns. Yes, actual people were saying that seriously. I started noticing something strange. Sometimes the chaos worked. I didn't tell anyone. Of course I didn't. In this house, anything I did automatically became evidence of incompetence. Even breathing incorrectly could be used against me in future family arguments. So I kept it hidden. My phone buzzed under the table that night. A small notification. Nothing dramatic. Just numbers shifting upward in a way that made my stomach tighten slightly. I glanced at it quickly, then locked my screen. My sister was talking about her office achievements again. My father was already planning how to tell relatives about her success. My mother was nodding like she had personally built her career. And me? I was sitting there, thinking about how one of my ridiculous TikTok coins had just crossed another milestone. I took a sip of water to hide the slight smile forming on my face. Because if I was reading that right, this dinner was about to become a very different kind of interesting. I just didn't know yet how loud the silence would get when they finally found out. The conversation at the table never really felt like a conversation. It was more like a stage performance where I wasn't allowed a script. My sister was still talking, of course. She had shifted into her favorite topic, how hard work and discipline naturally separate successful people from the rest. She said it with a soft smile, the kind that sounded polite until you realized it was designed to cut. My mother nodded like it was scripture. My father added commentary like he was her business manager. And me. I was still there, technically part of the family, but emotionally placed somewhere between background noise and warning example. You know, my sister continued, swirling her drink slightly. Some people just don't understand structure. That's why they stay stuck. My mother sighed dramatically. We tried with her. But you can only guide someone so much. I almost laughed. Tried with me. As if I was a broken appliance they had sent for repair, and it came back still refusing to obey. I stayed quiet. I always stayed quiet. That was the safest role in this house. Be invisible enough not to trigger disappointment, but present enough to absorb it. Still, tonight felt different. Not because they were more cruel than usual. They weren't. They were consistent. Predictable. Like a well-rehearsed insult machine. It was because I wasn't just listening anymore. I was noticing patterns. Like how my father's confidence rose every time he repeated something he didn't actually understand. Like how my sister only felt secure when someone else was lower than her. Like how my mother confused criticism with care. And like how none of them had any idea what was happening in my phone under the table. Another vibration. I didn't look immediately. I waited. Timing mattered. When I finally glanced down, the number had shifted again. Up. Not a little. Noticeably. A small breath slipped through my nose before I could stop it. That shouldn't be happening that fast. My brain replayed the past few days. A coin I bought as a joke because a TikTok guy with too much eyeliner said it was powered by cosmic alignment. Another one because someone claimed aliens were subtly influencing market emotion waves. I had laughed while buying both. Now my portfolio was behaving like it believed them. I locked the screen again. Are you even listening? My sister asked suddenly. I looked up. 3 pairs of eyes landed on me like I had interrupted something important by existing. Of course, I said calmly. She narrowed her eyes slightly. Then repeat what I just said. A pause. A test. A trap. I smiled lightly. You said structure separates successful people from the rest? My father nodded approvingly, like I had passed a basic intelligence exam. My sister leaned back. Good. At least you can retain information. The table chuckled. I didn't respond. I just picked up my glass again. Inside, though, something had shifted. Because while they were busy performing superiority, my brain was doing something entirely different. It was mapping volatility. It was connecting nonsense patterns from random internet theories to actual price movement. It was, unfortunately, learning. My phone vibrated again, more insistently this time. I resisted the urge to check immediately. Instead, I looked at my sister's perfect expression, her carefully built confidence, and I wondered something simple. What would happen if all that certainty cracked in 1 second? The thought made me dangerously calm. My sister continued speaking, now addressing my parents directly. Honestly, I think she needs realistic expectations. Maybe a small office job. Something stable. My mother nodded. Yes. Something simple. She doesn't need pressure. Something simple. Something small. Something safe. My phone buzzed again. I finally looked. And this time, I didn't hide the reaction quickly enough. My eyebrows moved slightly. Just enough. My sister noticed immediately. What? She asked sharply. What is it? My father frowned. Don't start acting strange again. I locked the phone slowly and placed it face down on the table. For the first time that evening, I didn't smile to protect myself. I smiled because I suddenly understood something very clearly. They thought I was behind. They thought I was failing. They thought I was half of something. But numbers don't care about opinions. And whatever was happening in my account was no longer small. The room had a strange kind of silence after I put my phone down. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that waits for something to explode. My sister was the first to notice something was off. What was that? She asked again, sharper this time. Her eyes were locked on me like I had just committed a crime by reacting to my own phone. My father leaned forward slightly. If it's another one of your useless internet things, don't embarrass yourself. My mother didn't say anything yet, but her expression already carried disappointment in advance, just in case it was needed. I could feel it now. That familiar pressure. The expectation that I would shrink back into my usual role. Apologize for existing loudly for 2 seconds and return to being half the woman they had labeled me. But something inside me had already changed. Not dramatically. Not like a movie moment. More like a switch that had been quietly installed a long time ago and finally decided to turn itself on. I leaned back slightly in my chair. You know, I said calmly, it's funny how you all keep talking about success. My sister let out a small, impatient laugh. Here we go. My father sighed like he was already tired of whatever I was about to say. I ignored them. Because I've been thinking, I continued, about what success actually looks like. My mother crossed her arms. And what exactly do you think it looks like? That was the opening. I looked at each of them slowly. Not rushing. Not emotional. Just observing, like I had been doing my whole life. Then I said it. $84,000. It didn't land immediately. For a second, no one processed it. The number just hung in the air like it didn't belong to the conversation. My sister blinked. What? My father frowned. Excuse me? My mother gave a short, nervous laugh. What are you talking about? I kept my voice steady. I've made $84,000 in the past year. Silence. This time it wasn't the waiting kind. It was the breaking kind. My sister actually leaned forward, her perfect composure cracking just a little. That's not funny. I'm not joking, I said. My father let out a sharp laugh now, but it sounded forced. From what? You. Doing what exactly? Watching videos all day? That should have stung. It didn't. Instead, I reached for my phone again. Slowly. Deliberately. And placed it on the table. No hesitation. No hiding. I unlocked it and turned the screen toward them. At first, they just stared. Numbers. Charts. Graphs moving in real time. A portfolio history that looked absurd in this dining room, like it belonged somewhere else entirely. My sister's expression changed first. Confusion. Then disbelief. Then something sharper. No, she said quickly. That can't be real. My father leaned closer, squinting. His confidence was starting to slip, but he was fighting it. Fake apps can show anything. I didn't respond. I just scrolled. More data. More transactions. More proof. My mother's face slowly shifted from doubt to discomfort. Not because she understood it, but because she was realizing she might be wrong. My sister suddenly reached out and grabbed my phone. She checked it herself. I let her. Because there's a moment in every system where denial stops working. And I could see that moment approaching in real time on her face. This is impossible, she muttered. Is it? I asked softly. That's when the shift happened. My father stopped laughing completely. He was reading now. Actually reading. Trying to understand something he had already dismissed 5 minutes ago. My mother spoke in a lower voice. How did you even get this money? And that was the funniest part. Because they were no longer asking me like I was irresponsible. They were asking like I was dangerous. I leaned forward slightly. TikTok, I said simply. My sister snapped her head up. Be serious. I am, I replied. Crypto. Meme coins. Random trends. Apparently chaos is profitable if you don't panic. That last line landed harder than I expected. My father rubbed his forehead. This is gambling. No, I said calmly. This is the internet with money attached. The room went quiet again, but this time it felt different. Heavier. My sister slowly placed the phone back on the table, like it had burned her slightly. And for the first time in my life, I saw something I had never seen before on her face. Not confidence. Not superiority. Uncertainty. I leaned back again, letting the silence stretch. Because now they knew. Half the woman sitting across from them had just casually revealed a number that didn't fit into their version of reality. And the worst part for them? I wasn't even finished talking yet. The silence after that felt different from all the previous silences at this table. Before, silence meant I had been dismissed. Now, silence meant they were recalculating me. My sister was still staring at the phone like it had personally insulted her career. My father had leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, trying to rebuild authority through posture alone. My mother kept blinking at me, as if I might turn back into the version of me she understood if she looked hard enough. But I didn't. I just sat there. Calm. Waiting. Finally, my father cleared his throat. Even if this is true, he said slowly, choosing each word like it was fragile, this is not stable income. It's luck. It can disappear any time. I nodded slightly. Yes. That answer threw him off. He expected me to argue, to defend it emotionally, to sound uncertain. Instead, I agreed. My sister frowned. So you're just admitting it's gambling? I tilted my head. I'm admitting it's unpredictable. That doesn't mean it's useless. My mother leaned forward now, her voice softer than before. But how do we learn it? That was the exact moment the power shifted completely. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just quietly. Like gravity changing direction. I looked at her for a second, then at my father, then at my sister. The sane people who had spent years reducing me to a comparison suddenly looked like students trying to catch up. And I was no longer in the role they assigned me. I didn't learn it from you, I said simply. That line landed heavier than anything else I had said that night. My sister's jaw tightened. So what, now you think you're better than us? I almost laughed, but didn't. No, I said. I think I stopped asking for permission to try things you don't understand. That made the table go quiet again. Even she didn't respond immediately. My father exhaled slowly, rubbing his forehead again. This is dangerous thinking. Maybe, I replied. But it paid. That was the problem. They couldn't argue with the result. Only the method. My phone buzzed again on the table. I didn't even look at it this time. I already knew. My sister noticed my calm reaction. You're acting like this is normal. It is becoming normal, I said. My mother's voice softened further. We didn't know you were doing this. That made something in my chest tighten slightly, but not in a painful way. More like realization. Of course they didn't know. They had never been looking at me. Only through me. My father leaned forward again, voice changing now. Less judgment. More interest. If you really made that much, then maybe you should show us how. There it was. The shift. From mockery to request. From dismissal to dependence. My sister looked at him sharply. You're actually believing this? He didn't answer her. He was still looking at me. That was the funniest part. Not the money. Not the charts. Not the shock. It was how quickly belief changed when value entered the room. I leaned back in my chair again, letting the moment sit. Then I smiled slightly. Not the polite smile I used to survive here. Something different. Controlled. I can explain it, I said slowly, but it won't make you comfortable. My sister scoffed. Try us. So I did. Most of it started as experiments, I said. Small trades. Random trends. Things you'd laugh at. Meme coins. Viral tokens. Stuff people online treat like jokes. My mother looked confused. My father frowned deeper. My sister looked offended at the idea that jokes could produce results. And? My father asked. And then I stopped treating it like a joke, I continued, and started treating it like observation. That word changed the tone again. Observation. Not gambling. Not luck. Observation. My cousin, who had been quiet the entire time, gave a small smile from the side of the table. The first real, genuine expression of approval I had seen all night. I noticed it. And for some reason, that mattered more than everyone else combined. My sister noticed that too. Her expression tightened slightly. The dynamic was shifting in ways she couldn't control anymore. I looked back at her. "You said I was half the woman you are," I said calmly. She didn't respond. "So help me understand," I continued. "Is half of $84,000 still impressive to you?" That broke her composure completely. My father looked down at the table. My mother didn't speak. My sister opened her mouth, then closed it again. No one had an answer that didn't make them smaller. I stood up slowly. Not angrily. Not dramatically. Just finished. "I'm not your failure anymore," I said softly. Then I picked up my phone. Another notification lit up the screen. Another increase. I didn't even react this time. I just glanced at it briefly, then locked the screen. Behind me, I heard my father finally speak again, his voice noticeably different. "Can you show me how to start?" And I smiled. Because that was the moment I realized something simple. They didn't think I was half a woman anymore. Now they were just trying to figure out how I became more than they expected.